U.S. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner says he's confident the debt crisis will be averted. He made the comments after meeting with White House freshmen today in Washington. The government has reached its $14.3 trillion borrowing limit. Geithner says Congress must extend the cap by August 2nd, or there could be a first-ever federal default. Raising the debt ceiling was voted down by lawmakers last week. And joining us now to talk more about this issue is Congressman Tim Griffin. And we do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you've been running around. Let's get right to it. Consider what could happen to the economy. Why did you vote against raising the debt ceiling?
Sure. I think a lot of us are looking for structural changes to our spending so that over the long term we can get this country back on the right path. We hear a lot about the debt ceiling, but we haven't heard much about steps to be taken so that we don't do this again in the future. The last thing we want is to have the debt ceiling lifted, raised, and then 6 months later it needs to be lifted again, and 6 months later...
Is that why you voted against it, though?
Yeah, and I think that what we want to see is a substantive plan that deals with the debt that we have. Yes, there are problems with hitting the debt limit, but there's also problems with having a $14 trillion debt and not doing something, not taking some action to show that the president, A, understands it's a problem, and B, is committed to reducing the debt. And the truth is this: we have enough revenue coming in to service our debt. We don't have enough revenue to service our debt and can continue spending on the spree that we're on, but we have enough to service our debt.
Well, let me ask you this. What kind of impact, in the simplest of terms, is this going to have on Tom down the street or Betty,
Sure.
who owns a store around the corner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're watching this very closely,
Sure.
and they're shaking because they don't know what's going to happen.
Sure. I think ultimately this is a jobs issue. I think the whole debate over the debt, people want to talk about the debt separately from jobs. The debt is related to the jobs issue, and here's how. Job creators, businesses, whether they be overseas that want to invest in the United States or here in this country, they look to this country and they say, is that a place I want to put my money? They've got a $14 trillion debt, and I'm looking to see whether they're going to act like adults and get it under control, or are they just going to keep raising the debt limit with no strings attached?
You say jobs. However, a lot of people right now are focusing on Medicare. I mean, that's
Sure.
the line that's been drawn in the
Sure.
sand.
Well, Medicare is related to jobs as well. Why? Because it directly relates to the debt. A lot of these things that we see folks talking about, whether it be the debt ceiling, Medicare, budgets, all of that relates ultimately to getting our fiscal house, our spending in order so that job creators have confidence in our economy and will invest here.
Real quick, do you think a deal's going to be reached sooner or later?
You know, I think ultimately I'm optimistic that a deal can be reached, but I can just tell you, and I think I convey the feelings of a lot of people in the House. We have got to see some structural changes to spending, or we're not going to vote yes. And that was a bipartisan vote. Yeah. There were almost 100 Democrats that joined us in denying the increase in the debt ceiling.
There's still some work that needs to be done. And one final thought on an unrelated topic. You just heard and watched on our newscast the events leading up to New York. Congressman Anthony Weiner, he now admits he lied, and he did in fact send lewd pictures via Twitter. Your thoughts on his announcement, and do you think he should resign?
Well, you know, I tell you, I'm going to leave whether he should resign between him and his constituents. You know, my heart goes out to his family. You know, I don't know what it is, but these folks' personal problems spill over and affect people that they work with. They affect their family, and it's unfortunate. And you know, I think he's going to have to work through that. But I think it's pretty serious.
Yeah, Congressman Tim Griffin, we appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.